Chapter 1. Why Money Matters. Sophie was scrolling through her Instagram feed on a Tuesday evening when she stumbled across a post that made her pause. A 21-year-old YouTuber was sharing how she had quit her part-time job, started her own brand, and traveled the world, all before turning 22. Sophie felt a pang of envy and excitement. How did someone her age have so much freedom? The answer was simple. Money. Not just having it, but understanding it. Money isn't just numbers in your bank account. It's freedom. Freedom to choose your path, freedom to say no when life pressures you, and freedom to chase your dreams without constant stress. For Sophie, realizing this was the first step toward taking control of her life. She began to notice how every little decision, buying a coffee, subscribing to a streaming service, or even splurging on new sneakers, shaped her future. The power of money lies in its ability to influence choices. Imagine wanting to take a specialized online course to improve your skills, but you don't have the funds. Suddenly, your options shrink. Now imagine having enough saved to not only afford the course, but also invest in tools and resources that make learning more effective. That's freedom money provides. It doesn't guarantee happiness, but it gives you the ability to design your own life. Sophie's friend, Alex, learned this lesson the hard way. At 19, Alex bought the latest smartphone every year, racking up debt without even realizing it. He had a good part-time job, but his spending habits trapped him in a cycle of instant gratification and financial stress. He envied friends who seemed to have it all together, not realizing that they were practicing careful budgeting and strategic saving. Watching Alex struggle made Sophie determined to avoid the same trap. It's easy to think that because you're young, money doesn't matter yet. But small decisions accumulate. A daily coffee at $5 might seem harmless, but over a year it adds up to over $1,800. Add a few streaming subscriptions, occasional online shopping, and spontaneous takeout meals, and suddenly you've spent thousands without even noticing. That's the invisible power of money, how it quietly shapes your future before you even realize it. Debt is another tricky trap. When Sophie's cousin Maya started her first credit card at 20, she didn't fully understand the interest rates. Within months, she owed more than she had spent, struggling to keep up with minimum payments. On the other hand, some of Sophie's peers were already using small investments in savings apps to grow their money slowly but steadily. One TikTok creator she followed started investing $20 a week at 18. By the time she was 21, it had grown enough to fund her first solo trip abroad. Small, consistent financial habits like these compound over time, giving young people an advantage if they start early. Understanding money also means learning from others' choices. You don't have to make every mistake yourself. Sophie started following finance-savvy Gen Z creators who showed how to budget using apps like YNAB, save for short-term goals like concerts or tech gear, and invest in beginner-friendly stocks or ETFs. She realized that managing money isn't about restricting fun. It's about creating options. Saving for the future doesn't mean missing out today. It means having the freedom to choose what's worth spending on and what's not. The reality for Gen Z is that traditional paths, college, steady jobs, and pensions are shifting. Gig work, freelancing, and personal brands are common, but they come with financial uncertainty. Having money knowledge is no longer optional. It's survival. Without it, even exciting opportunities can become stressful or impossible to pursue. Sophie knew this. She started tracking her spending, planning short-term savings, and setting up a small investment account. It wasn't glamorous, but it gave her a sense of control she hadn't felt before. By the end of the year, Sophie could feel the difference. She didn't have millions, but she had choices. She could say yes to a weekend trip without worrying about rent, yes to an online course that would boost her skills, and yes to experimenting with creative projects without fear of financial ruin. Money had stopped being scary or confusing. It had become a tool, a way to shape her life intentionally. For Gen Z, understanding money early is the real superpower. It's not about hoarding wealth or comparing yourself to influencers.
It's about seeing how every decision, from daily spending to long-term investment, affects your freedom, your options, and your future. Sophie learned that when you treat money as a tool, not a goal, it opens doors to experiences, opportunities, and independence you can't get any other way.
Chapter 2. Budgeting Without the Stress. Jordan had always been terrible with money. Every month, he would check his bank account and feel a small wave of panic. Somehow, the paycheck had disappeared. Rent, coffee, takeout, Spotify, streaming subscriptions, and a spontaneous impulse buy here and there. Nothing catastrophic, but enough to leave him wondering, where did it all go? One evening, while scrolling through TikTok, he stumbled across a video from a 20-year-old named Kayla. She was sitting at her desk, a cup of tea steaming beside her laptop, explaining how she used a zero-based budget to take control of her money. Jordan watched, intrigued. Zero-based budgeting? That sounded fancy. But Kayla broke it down simply. Every dollar has a job. No money is left floating around waiting to disappear. She assigned each dollar to a category: rent, groceries, savings, entertainment, until her income minus her expenses equaled zero. Jordan decided to try it. He downloaded an app called YNAB. You Need a Budget. The app felt like a game. He could see every dollar, label it, and track it in real time. For the first time, Jordan realized that budgeting wasn't about restriction. It was about freedom. Instead of dreading the end of the month, he could now see where his money was going and plan for things that mattered. The next week, he experimented with a digital envelope system. He divided his money into virtual envelopes for rent, groceries, entertainment, and savings. When an envelope was empty, he couldn't spend from it without moving money from another envelope, forcing him to make conscious choices. For example, he wanted to buy a new pair of sneakers, but his fun money envelope was already spent. Instead of feeling deprived, he saved for 2 weeks and bought them without guilt, knowing it wouldn't hurt his essentials or savings. Digital tools like Mint, Pocket Guard, and Good Budget make this process even easier for Gen Z. These apps sync with your bank account, categorize spending automatically, and give visual dashboards that are satisfying to look at. Jordan loved the charts. It was strangely motivating to see green bars instead of red, indicating he was staying on track. Budgeting became less like a chore and more like leveling up in a game. Kayla also emphasized tracking irregular expenses, the ones that sneak up, like birthday gifts, car maintenance, or holiday trips. Jordan had always ignored these costs and felt blindsided when they appeared. Using the app, he created a future fund envelope, adding a little money each month for unexpected expenses. This small habit removed a huge amount of stress from his life. Zero-based budgeting isn't the only method for Gen Z. There's also the 50-30-20 rule. 50% of income for needs, 30% for wants, and 20% for savings or debt repayment. Sophia, another young content creator, combined this rule with micro-savings apps. Every time she bought a coffee, the app rounded up to the nearest dollar and put the extra cents into a savings account. She didn't even notice the money leaving her checking account, but over a few months, she had a small emergency fund ready. Jordan also learned the power of visual reminders. Sticky notes, phone notifications, and weekly check-ins with friends turned budgeting into a social and interactive habit. They would compare small wins, like how much they saved on food delivery in a week, turning budgeting into a fun, motivating challenge rather than a stressful task. The key for Gen Z is mindset shift. Budgeting isn't about denying yourself. It's about deciding what's worth spending on and what isn't. It's choosing freedom over chaos. It's realizing that controlling your money doesn't mean less fun, it often means more. Jordan started planning his social activities around what he valued most, instead of spending impulsively. Movie nights with friends were fine, but he learned to cut down on overpriced lattes every day. The result? More money saved and a sense of control he had never felt before.
By the end of 3 months, Jordan had a clear picture of his finances. He knew exactly how much he could spend, how much to save, and how to handle emergencies. Budgeting had shifted from a scary concept to an empowering tool. He was no longer at the mercy of his bank account. He was the one in charge. For Gen Z, the lesson is clear. Modern budgeting, powered by digital tools, doesn't have to be stressful or boring. Whether it's zero-based budgeting, the 50-30-20 rule, or round-up savings, the key is awareness and planning. Every dollar has a purpose, and every choice counts. When you approach money this way, you gain freedom, confidence, and the ability to shape your own financial future without losing sleep over it. Jordan's journey shows that budgeting isn't about restriction, it's about liberation. Once you assign every dollar a job and track it in a way that fits your lifestyle, money stops controlling you. Instead, you start controlling money. And that's a game changer for any Gen Z adult trying to navigate a world of unpredictable income, rising costs, and endless temptations.
Chapter 3. Smart Spending. Where to Put Your Money. Liam had just received his first real paycheck. He felt a thrill looking at the number. It was more money than he had ever held at once. He immediately thought of all the things he could buy: a new gaming console, the latest sneakers, maybe even a weekend trip with friends. But he hesitated. Something he'd read in a personal finance video popped into his mind. Spend with intention, not impulse. The challenge wasn't earning money, it was knowing where to put it. Liam realized he had never really distinguished between needs and wants. Rent, groceries, transportation, those were needs. The flashy gadgets and designer hoodies were wants. But how do you navigate spending so that you enjoy life without sabotaging your financial future? Liam decided to experiment. He created 2 mental piles: essentials and fun money. Essentials covered everything he needed to survive and thrive: rent, groceries, bills, and a small emergency buffer. Fun money was anything extra: gaming, clothes, coffee runs, even going out with friends. The rule was simple: spend freely from fun money, but essentials always came first. He remembered watching Emma Chamberlain talk about her early days in YouTube. She said she often spent impulsively on things she didn't even care about later, leaving her stressed and broke. Emma learned to enjoy life without guilt by prioritizing spending on what truly brought happiness, like experiences with friends or creative projects, rather than fleeting trends. Liam wanted the same. He didn't need the newest AirPods immediately. He wanted memories and skills that would last. The next step was learning how to make spending smart and even enjoyable. Liam discovered that budgeting didn't mean giving up joy, it meant amplifying it. He started tracking his fun money and noticing patterns: which purchases made him genuinely happy and which were just filling a momentary craving. He realized coffee from a cafe every morning felt good in the moment, but didn't bring long-term satisfaction. On the other hand, buying ingredients to cook dinner with friends created lasting memories and was cheaper. Digital tools helped him stay on track. Pocket Guard and Mint showed him real-time spending and categorized expenses automatically. The visuals made it easier to recognize trends. Sudden spikes in impulse spending were obvious, and Liam could adjust. He even gamified his financial choices, challenging himself to spend under budget on entertainment each week and rewarding himself when he succeeded. But smart spending isn't just about cutting costs, it's about maximizing value. Liam learned about conscious splurges. Instead of saying no to everything fun, he identified a few things that truly mattered and spent money on those. He joined a local photography club, bought a quality camera he would use for months, and ignored trendy gadgets that offered temporary satisfaction. Each purchase was intentional and aligned with his goals, turning spending into a mindful act. Understanding wants versus needs also helped him avoid social pressure. Gen Z faces constant exposure to influencers, ads, and friends showing off their purchases. It's easy to feel like you're missing out, but Liam noticed a shift when he started asking himself, will this bring me joy or just status? Often the answer was that the status wasn't worth the money.
This simple mental check saved him hundreds of dollars each month and reduced stress. He also started planning small rewards. Fun money became a way to celebrate achievements. After finishing a challenging work project, he treated himself to a concert ticket. After saving consistently for 3 months, he bought a high-quality backpack he had wanted for a year. Spending became part of a positive feedback loop. Reward, enjoy, learn, repeat. Smart spending isn't about perfection, it's about awareness and intention. Liam realized he didn't need to eliminate wants completely, just prioritize them. Experiences, skills, and long-term goals took precedence, while impulsive purchases shrank naturally. The thrill of watching his bank account grow while still enjoying life was more satisfying than any one-time shopping spree. By the end of the first quarter, Liam could clearly see the benefits. Essentials were covered, savings were growing, and his fun money was spent intentionally on things that mattered. He felt in control, less stressed, and even more excited to work toward bigger goals. Spending had stopped being a source of anxiety. It had become a tool for designing a life he loved. For Gen Z, the key takeaway is this: distinguish needs from wants, spend intentionally, and find joy in mindful choices. Smart spending doesn't mean depriving yourself. It means making every dollar count toward happiness, freedom, and future opportunities. Liam had learned that when you treat money as a tool, not a limit, every purchase becomes part of a bigger story, your story.
Chapter 4: Investing for Beginners. Maya had been scrolling through TikTok late one night when she paused on a video titled, "How I Turned $50 into $500 in a Month." The creator, a 19-year-old content creator, explained how she combined YouTube ad revenue with small investments in beginner-friendly ETFs. Maya felt a mix of awe and excitement. Could she really start building wealth at her age, with just a few dollars and some creativity? For Gen Z, the world of investing doesn't look like the dusty, intimidating stock market of textbooks. It's modern, digital, and accessible. From TikTok influencers to YouTube creators and freelance entrepreneurs, young people are finding ways to make their money work for them, even if they only have part-time jobs or gig work income. Maya wanted in, but she also knew she needed to understand the basics first. Investing starts with one simple idea: putting your money to work for you. Instead of letting cash sit idly in a bank account, earning almost nothing, smart investing allows you to grow your money over time. Maya remembered watching Emma Chamberlain discuss early investments she made with YouTube earnings, which eventually allowed her to fund creative projects without relying on external sponsors. The key takeaway was clear: even small amounts, when invested consistently, can grow significantly. Maya started by categorizing her income. Her part-time job at a local cafe was steady but modest. Her TikTok videos occasionally went viral, and she had a small YouTube channel where she reviewed art supplies and DIY projects. All of these income streams were irregular, but together they gave her a sense of freedom. She realized that modern Gen Z income is diverse. Freelancing, side hustles, content creation, and digital gigs can all feed into investment opportunities. She decided to split her money into 3 buckets: short-term savings, medium-term goals, and investments. Short-term savings covered rent, bills, and essentials. Medium-term goals were things like a camera for her channel or a weekend trip. Investments were purely for growing wealth over time. Maya used beginner-friendly apps like Robinhood, Acorns, and Betterment, which made investing feel like a game rather than a chore. She could start with as little as $10, track her portfolio visually, and learn by doing. Maya's first investment wasn't a single stock, it was an ETF, a collection of stocks that spreads risk. She also experimented with micro-investing, automatically rounding up small purchases and putting the spare change into an investment account. Watching her money grow, even slowly, was thrilling. More importantly, she was learning. Every chart, every percentage change became part of her education in financial literacy.
Investing isn't just about traditional assets. Maya discovered that her content itself was an investment. The videos she created on YouTube and TikTok didn't just provide immediate income, they also built an audience, a digital asset that could generate revenue for years. Each follower, each view was potential future income, just like dividends from stocks. Other Gen Z creators she followed diversified their income. Some sold merch, others offered online workshops, and some monetized social media through sponsorships. Money-making today is often a blend of active work and smart investment. Of course, investing carries risk. Maya learned to balance potential gains with safety. She started small, never putting more than she could afford to lose. She diversified her investments and avoided get-rich-quick schemes that promised astronomical returns with no explanation. Watching other young investors get burned by flashy crypto or untested startups reminded her that knowledge was as important as capital. Over the next 6 months, Maya noticed subtle but significant changes. Her small investments were slowly compounding. She felt empowered, knowing that her YouTube revenue, TikTok bonuses, and occasional freelance gigs were not just spending money, they were tools to grow her financial future. She could cover unexpected expenses without panic, invest in experiences that mattered, and even dream bigger. A fully funded trip abroad, a professional camera setup, or a side hustle expansion. The lesson for Gen Z is clear. Invest early, diversify, and combine multiple income streams. You don't need a massive paycheck to start. Your creativity, time, and small savings can be powerful tools. By viewing money as both a resource and an opportunity, Maya had turned investing from a confusing adult concept into an exciting, actionable part of her life. For Gen Z, modern investing is more than just stocks. It's about digital assets, social media channels, side hustles, and micro-investments. It's about learning to make your money grow while doing what you love. Maya's journey shows that the smartest investment isn't always a company. It's investing in yourself, your skills, and the platforms you create. By the end of the year, Maya wasn't just saving, she was building. Her small investments, coupled with her online income streams, had created a foundation she could rely on. The money she earned wasn't fleeting, it was multiplying, giving her options, freedom, and confidence. Investing, she realized, wasn't reserved for Wall Street brokers or the wealthy. It was a tool Gen Z could use to shape their futures, one smart decision at a time.
Chapter 5. Debt and Borrowing. Smart Strategies. Jared had just turned 20, and like many of his friends, he had a credit card in his wallet. At first, it felt empowering, a small piece of plastic that promised freedom. He could buy concert tickets, order food, and even snag the latest sneakers online. But after a few months, reality hit. The balance was higher than he expected, interest was stacking up, and the stress of minimum payments was constant. Debt is one of the most misunderstood financial tools for Gen Z. It can either be a bridge to opportunity or a trap that restricts freedom. As Warren Buffett once said, "The best thing I did was to not get into debt." For young adults, this means learning to borrow wisely, use credit strategically, and always understand the cost of money. Jared's turning point came when he read about how Emma Chamberlain managed her early credit. She had made mistakes in her first years of earning from YouTube, but learned quickly. Only use debt when it serves a purpose, like investing in growth, equipment for her channel, or emergencies, not fleeting wants. Inspired, Jared decided to take control. The first rule he learned was to distinguish between good debt and bad debt. Good debt could include student loans or business investments that improve your skills or income potential. Bad debt covers things like high-interest credit cards for non-essential items or payday loans. Gen Z often falls into the trap of buy now, stress later, but understanding this difference can prevent years of financial strain. Jared created a plan. He listed every debt he owed, the interest rates and minimum payments. Then he ranked them by urgency. High-interest debts, like his credit card, became the top priority. He implemented the debt snowball method, famously used by Dave Ramsey.
Pay off the smallest debts first for motivation, while making minimum payments on larger ones. Each cleared debt became a psychological win, reinforcing good habits. Borrowing wisely also means using credit to build financial strength, not weaken it. Jared applied the strategy of keeping utilization low, paying balances in full whenever possible. He noticed that some friends were maxing out cards and carrying balances month after month. Not only did this cost them hundreds in interest, but it also harmed their credit scores, something Jared wanted to protect. Another strategy he discovered was diversification of borrowing for opportunities. Instead of relying solely on a credit card, Jared explored low-interest options like student loans, small business microloans, and peer-to-peer lending platforms. He read about Mark Cuban's early career advice. Don't worry about money, worry about being valuable. For Jared, this meant using borrowed funds to invest in learning, tools, or platforms that could increase his income potential. Gen Z often underestimates the emotional impact of debt. Jared learned that controlling debt reduces stress and creates freedom to take risks in other areas of life. For instance, he wanted to start a small Etsy shop selling custom art prints. With a clear understanding of his financial obligations, he could use a portion of savings and small loans responsibly, confident that it wouldn't spiral out of control. He also discovered peer accountability worked wonders. Jared joined online Gen Z finance communities where members shared tips on paying off debt, avoiding interest traps, and finding low-cost alternatives. Seeing peers succeed motivated him and offered creative strategies like negotiating payment plans or consolidating loans. Over 6 months, Jared chipped away at his debt. Each cleared balance gave him confidence, proving that strategic borrowing could be a tool, not a burden. He realized that debt itself isn't evil, it's how you manage it. By tracking interest, prioritizing high-cost debt, and using borrowing strategically for growth, he could leverage money instead of letting it control him. The real lesson for Gen Z is this: debt is inevitable, but it can be mastered. As Robert Kiyosaki, author of Rich Dad Poor Dad, says, "Don't work for money, make money work for you." Using debt smartly can fund opportunities, build credit, and increase financial literacy. Mismanaged, it leads to stress, limited options, and wasted potential. By the end of the year, Jared had transformed his relationship with debt. Credit cards were no longer a source of anxiety, they were a tool when used responsibly. Student loans were a bridge to skill building and better income. Microloans became funding for creative ventures. He had not only learned to borrow wisely, but also gained the confidence to take calculated financial risks, turning debt from a looming burden into a stepping stone toward independence. For Gen Z, mastering debt is less about fear and more about strategy. Track it, prioritize it, and use it to grow value, not stress. Borrow with purpose, pay with discipline, and watch debt become an ally rather than an enemy.
Chapter 6. Saving for the Future Without Missing Out. Avel was 22 and constantly hearing the advice, "You should start saving for the future." She would nod politely, scroll through her feed, and then spend her paycheck on concert tickets, the latest streetwear, or fancy coffee. Saving felt distant, almost boring. Why sacrifice now for a future that seems so far away, she thought. Then one night, Ava stumbled on a YouTube video by Graham Stephan. He said, "You don't have to make a lot to save a lot. You just need to start early." It wasn't about cutting all fun, it was about prioritizing, automating, and letting time work for her. The idea hit her. Saving didn't mean missing out, it meant creating options for the future while still enjoying the present. Ava started small. She opened 2 accounts, one for short-term goals, one for long-term savings. Short-term was for trips, events, and spontaneous fun. Long-term was for bigger milestones, travel abroad, a car, or investments. The division gave her freedom to enjoy life now without guilt while building a safety net for tomorrow. She implemented a simple habit: pay yourself first. Each paycheck, a percentage automatically went into her savings accounts before she touched anything else. Even $50 a week added up over time. The automation removed the temptation to spend everything immediately and made saving feel effortless.
Ava also experimented with roundup apps like Acorns, which rounded up purchases to the nearest dollar and invested the spare change. Buying a $3.50 coffee meant 50 cents went into savings. It was almost invisible, but over months, her small, consistent contributions accumulated into a meaningful sum. She realized that saving doesn't need to be drastic to be effective. Understanding priorities helped Ava enjoy spending while saving. She asked herself, does this purchase add real value or just instant gratification? Concert tickets with friends created memories and joy. Another pair of sneakers that would sit in her closet? Not so much. Allocating money consciously allowed her to indulge without guilt and build wealth simultaneously. Ava also embraced the power of compound interest. She opened a high-yield savings account and a beginner-friendly investment account for long-term growth. The idea was simple. Money grows faster when left alone over time. The earlier she started, the more powerful the effect. Even small amounts invested regularly could turn into significant wealth over years. Warren Buffett's advice resonated. Do not save what is left after spending, but spend what is left after saving. Social influence played a role too. Ava followed Gen Z finance creators on TikTok who showed how saving can coexist with fun. One creator documented her journey saving for a trip to Japan while still enjoying monthly experiences in her city. She used budgeting hacks, cashback apps, and group challenges with friends to make saving motivating and even social. Ava began implementing similar strategies, making saving feel like a shared adventure rather than a lonely chore. Ava discovered that saving for the future also meant having a plan for emergencies. Unexpected expenses, medical bills, travel mishaps, or device repairs could derail her finances. By keeping an emergency fund separate, she avoided stress and preserved her short and long-term goals. It was freedom, knowing she could handle surprises without panic. Her strategy wasn't rigid. Ava allowed herself flexibility. Fun money wasn't off limits, it was planned. She balanced experiences with financial responsibility, proving that saving doesn't require a dull life. Every dollar saved was a step toward independence, confidence, and long-term security. Over a year, Ava's small, consistent habits transformed her finances. Her short-term goals were met without stress, long-term investments were steadily growing, and she felt empowered instead of deprived. Saving had stopped being an abstract concept, it had become a tool for freedom, choice, and peace of mind. For Gen Z, the lesson is clear. Start early, automate, prioritize, and make saving enjoyable. Short-term savings fund fun now, long-term investments secure your future, and compound interest amplifies every dollar. With discipline and intention, you can enjoy life fully today while building the foundation for tomorrow. Ava learned that the smartest saving strategy isn't about denying yourself, it's about designing your money to work for you, creating options, and enjoying both the present and the future. Saving became not just a financial habit, but a lifestyle, one that empowered her to live intentionally, confidently, and freely. Chapter 7. Gen Z Financial Challenges. Leo was 23, fresh out of college and ready to take on the world, or at least that's how he felt scrolling through freelance platforms late at night. He had signed up for Upwork, Fiverr, and a few local gig apps. His plan was to combine freelancing, part-time gigs, and social media income to build a flexible life. It sounded exciting, but reality hit fast. The gig economy promised freedom, but it also came with unpredictable income. One month, Leo earned enough to cover rent and fund money comfortably. The next month, clients disappeared, deadlines shifted, and apps froze his payments. He realized that for Gen Z, financial challenges weren't just about spending or saving. They were about stability in a digital, ever-changing world. Freelancing and gig work offer incredible opportunities, flexibility, creative freedom, and the chance to earn from your skills. But without proper planning, they can lead to stress and instability. Leo had to learn how to forecast income, budget for dry months, and track irregular payments, skills many of his peers hadn't mastered yet. Traditional advice like save 20% of your paycheck needed a twist. In the gig economy, it was more like save 50% when you earn, because you never know when the next paycheck will come. Digital currencies added another layer. Leo had experimented with crypto, intrigued by success stories of young investors turning a few dollars in the thousands. But volatility was brutal. One week his small investment grew, the next it lost 30%. He realized that digital money could amplify beans, but it could also amplify risks. Understanding volatility, doing research, and never investing more than he could afford to lose became critical rules. To navigate these challenges, Leo adopted strategies used by successful digital age entrepreneurs. Gary Vaynerchuk often emphasizes diversification of income streams. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Leo applied this literally, freelancing for clients, monetizing his small YouTube channel, delivering for local gigs, and offering micro-consulting services. Even when one source slowed down, others kept him afloat. Risk management became central to his finances. He started an emergency fund bigger than what traditional advice suggested, knowing that unpredictability was part of gig life. He also bought insurance, health, device, and liability coverage to protect against the unexpected. In the digital era, where work, money, and life often intertwine online, protecting assets and planning for contingencies isn't optional, it's essential. Leo also learned the power of tracking, analytics, and tools. Apps like QuickBooks, Self-Employed, Mint, and YNAB helped him see where each dollar came from, where it went, and which gigs were truly profitable after taxes and fees. Data-driven decisions allowed him to optimize his efforts and avoid burnout chasing projects that barely paid. Financial education became a daily habit. Leo followed Gen Z creators who shared tips on taxes for freelancers, how to handle crypto gains responsibly, and how to negotiate contracts. He realized that, unlike previous generations, his peers needed digital-age financial literacy, understanding apps, online payments, virtual assets, and risk in a borderless economy. The social aspect of money posed challenges. Comparing earnings with other freelancers online created pressure to overwork, underprice services, or chase trends blindly. Leo learned to define success on his own terms: stability, growth, and the ability to choose which projects aligned with his goals. By combining careful budgeting, diversified income streams, and a disciplined saving plan, he turned what initially felt like chaos into structured freedom. By the end of the year, Leo's finances looked radically different. He wasn't rich, but he was resilient. He had learned to navigate irregular income, volatile digital assets, and new risks while still living intentionally. He could take on creative projects without fear, experiment with new ventures, and maintain a safety net that protected him from sudden setbacks. For Gen Z, the takeaway is clear. The digital economy offers immense opportunities, but comes with unique challenges. Freelancing, gig work, social media, and digital money can all be powerful income sources, but only when paired with risk awareness, strategic planning, and disciplined money management. Building a stable foundation in this fast-changing landscape isn't about avoiding risk, it's about mastering it.
Chapter 8. Real-World Money IQ. The Lessons School Forgot. When Alex signed his first freelance contract, he thought he'd made it. The client was a US-based startup, the pay looked decent, and the job title, Digital Growth Consultant, sounded fancy. He skimmed contract, clicked accept, and got to work. A month later, the company ghosted him. No payment, no email reply, just silence. That's when he learned the first unspoken rule of real-world finance. If you don't understand the fine print will own you. 1. The art of negotiation. How to ask without fear. Negotiation isn't just for lawyers in suits. It's for freelancers, creators, and anyone trying to make their value known. Gen Z lives in a world where opportunities come from DMs, not office doors. Whether it's pricing a design project or asking for a raise at a remote job, negotiation is survival. A Harvard Business Review study found that women and young professionals who negotiate early in their careers can increase lifetime earnings by up to $1 million. But here's the catch. Negotiation isn't about demanding more. It's about knowing your worth and communicating it with confidence. Steve Jobs once said, "You don't get what you deserve. You get what you negotiate." So how do you start? Do your research. If you're a freelancer, check platforms like Glassdoor, Fiverr, or Upwork for average rates. Speak in value, not time. Instead of saying, "I charge $20 an hour," say, "This project will cost $400. It includes strategy, design, and optimization." Silence is power. After stating your rate, shut up. Most people talk themselves into lower pay because they fear rejection. Negotiation is emotional fitness. It trains you to handle discomfort, the same skill that will later help you in investments, business, and leadership. 2. Contracts, the adulting superpower. Let's be real, contracts sound boring until you lose money. A solid contract protects your time, creativity, and rights. It's your invisible shield in the digital economy. Every Gen Z creator should understand these basics. Scope of work. Define exactly what's included and what's not. Payment terms. When and how you get paid. Never start without at least a partial deposit. Ownership rights. Who owns the content after delivery? You or the client? Cancellation policy. How will refunds or terminations work? Even a simple written agreement in Google Docs is better than a vague chat. Remember, handshake deals don't work in a world of screenshots. Mark Cuban once tweeted, "Contracts keep friendships and businesses intact. Clarity is kindness." 3. Taxes and insurance, the unsexy secrets of freedom. No one tells you this in school, but taxes aren't punishment. They're the price of playing the money game. If you freelance or make money online, whether from YouTube, Etsy, or TikTok, you are a business, not a hobbyist. That means tracking income, saving receipts, and paying taxes. Apps like QuickBooks Self-Employed, YNAB, or Mint make it easier than ever. Set aside 25 to 30% of each payment in a separate account for taxes. That way, when the government comes knocking, you're ready, not panicking. Insurance is another overlooked armor. Most Gen Z ignore it until disaster hits. A broken laptop, a bike accident, or losing freelance work. But real financial maturity means protecting not just your money, but your future cash flow. Here's a quick guide. Health insurance. Avoid medical debt, the #1 cause of bankruptcy. Liability insurance. For freelancers or creators, this covers mistakes or client claims. Emergency fund. Your personal insurance. 3 to 6 months of expenses and savings. 4. Money lessons school never taught you. Traditional education prepares you to earn money, not to manage it. But financial IQ isn't about being good at math. It's about emotional discipline and real-world awareness. Here's what schools missed. Money loves clarity. Confused money runs away. Have clear goals and track where it goes. Debt isn't evil. Ignorance is. Credit cards, student loans, or mortgages can build your future if you understand how interest works. As Robert Kiyosaki said, "It's not how much you make, but how much you keep, how hard it works for you, and how many generations you keep it for." Real-world money IQ is about strategy, not status. A 23-year-old coder who saves and invests consistently beats the 40-year-old influencer who spends it all on image. 5. Your financial identity. Think like a CEO. Every paycheck you earn is your company's revenue. Your rent, food, and subscriptions, those are your expenses. Your savings and investments, that's your profit. Once you start thinking like a CEO, not an employee, everything changes. You stop asking, "Can I afford this?" and start asking,
Does this expense serve my mission? As Jay-Z famously said, I'm not a businessman, I'm a businessman. When Mia first downloaded a crypto wallet, she felt like she was stepping into the future. Her friends were trading NFTs. Someone she followed on TikTok claimed to make 5 figures a month flipping Solana tokens. And everywhere she looked, the internet screamed one thing: if you're not in crypto, you're missing out. A year later, half her NFT collection was worthless. The TikToker disappeared. That's when she realized technology can make you rich or broke, depending on how you use it. Gen Z is the first generation to grow up with financial technology as part of identity. From Revolut to Robinhood, Binance to Venmo, money is turned digital, social, and dangerously fast. But here's the truth most people won't tell you. The tools aren't the problem, the mindset is. Andy's older brother Sam used to laugh at her digital coins, but when he saw her tracking her expenses automatically through YNAB and setting up automated savings in Monzo, he realized she wasn't just playing with apps, she was building systems. That's the key difference between tech consumers and tech players. A consumer scrolls through apps. A player uses apps to make money, automate discipline, and expand freedom. In the financial tech world, there are 3 categories every Gen Z should master. 1. Control tools, the apps that make money visible. Think of Mint or YNAB, Emma or Pocket Guard. These are your dashboards, not just to track, but to see patterns. They show where your money leaks, subscriptions you forgot, impulse buys you regret, fees you never noticed. Money clarity is power. When you see exactly how much you spend on Uber Eats in a month, you start acting like your own CFO. As Warren Buffett once said, "Do not save what is left after spending. Spend what is left after saving." These apps help you do just that by flipping your financial behavior upside down. 2. Grow tools, the platforms that multiply your income. For Gen Z, income doesn't only come from jobs, it comes from platforms. 1. YouTube creators earn from AdSense and sponsorships. Etsy sellers turn hobbies into income streams. Fiverr freelancers sell digital skills globally. Robinhood, eToro, and Degiro make investing accessible to anyone with Wi-Fi. Technology broke the old rule of work hard for money. Now money works 24/7 while you sleep, if you know where to put it. Take Ryan Trahan, for example, a YouTuber who turned 0.01 cent into thousands by leveraging storytelling, brand partnerships, and audience engagement. He didn't work more hours, he worked smarter with technology as his leverage. That's financial creativity, not luck. 3. Explore tools, the future of money. Crypto, NFTs, and the metaverse. The crypto boom taught a brutal lesson. Greed disguises itself as innovation. NFTs were sold as the new art revolution, and while some early creators made millions, most buyers were left with JPEGs no one wanted. The real winners weren't speculators, they were builders who used blockchain to solve real problems: smart contracts, transparent donations, community-driven brands. If you want to play in this arena, play smart. Never invest money you can't afford to lose. Learn before you trade. Watch YouTubers like Andre Jick or Graham Stephan, not TikTok hype. Diversify. Don't put all your money in one token, app, or trend. Technology evolves fast, but financial wisdom stays the same. It's not about timing the market, it's about time in the market. Still, digital life has its traps. Subscription creep, crypto scams, influencer shilling, all are part of the new money jungle. Scammers now use deepfakes of Elon Musk to promote fake investment platforms. Others promise 100x crypto returns through Telegram groups. Here's the brutal truth: if it looks like free money online, you're probably the product. Protect your data. Turn on two-factor authentication. Use password managers. Digital wealth means digital risk, so act like a hacker protecting your own vault. Mia learned that the hard way. After losing $600 to a fake NFT drop, she made it her mission to study financial cybersecurity. Now she uses cold wallets for crypto, keeps screenshots of all transactions, and even runs a small TikTok channel teaching others how to avoid scams. That's what real financial intelligence looks like in the digital age. Not fear, but awareness. Technology will keep evolving, from AI investing to virtual real estate in the metaverse, but the principles never change. Control your spending, automate your saving, protect your assets, and keep learning. Because in the end, technology isn't your master or your enemy, it's your mirror. It reflects who you are, disciplined or distracted, curious or careless. And as Bill Gates once said, technology is just a tool. In terms of getting kids working together and motivating them, the teacher is the human mind. The same goes for money. The app doesn't make you rich. Your mindset does.